Counselor, there's a raccoon stuck in the vending machine.
That's so annoying. I wanted a snack.
Welcome to Trail Mix.
Our mini episodes from Camp Counselors podcast.
Each week, the stories come from you, our Camp Shady Birch campers.
We want to hear your juicy gossip,
Top secret confessions,
embarrassing and scary stories.
and sprinkle in our sage counselor advice.
Trail Mix is for the campers.
And God, do we love ya. Hey,
Hey,
happy
happy
campers.
campers.
Welcome back to Trail Mix.
This is our mini episode where we read listener submitted stories.
I'm feeling beefy. I'm feeling clammy. I'm feeling meaty. I'm feeling strong.
That was beautiful. What do you call that number?
Pork altejana in minor key.
I love that.
I'm missing Portuguese food so much today. I want pork altejana. I want marinated pork with some little clams, some banana peppers, some saffron, some rice. I have to find some good Portuguese food in New York City. I don't know if it exists. It probably does.
Bacalhau.
Yes. Speaking of food and the senses, do we have a story for you, campers? This was not included on the cruise episode because there was so much going on in that episode. But there was something that was weighing on my heart, weighing on my nose, to be quite honest.
So we were gone for like 9 days total, right?
12 days total because we had the extra
we
day in
went to
Orlando.
Georgia. Oh my
then we had the
God.
double. Yeah, it was 12 days. The car was parked in the JFK parking garage.
So just keep that in mind. 12 days we're talking about here.
12 days of Christmas, 12 days of stank.
So we get off the plane in JFK and we're looking for our car in the parking garage. We finally find it. We're tired. We've been walking, lugging around 2 giant bags of dirty laundry. Mine was mostly damp. I don't want to talk about it. But we get to the car. You pop open the trunk. Nothing seems nefarious about it.
Nothing nefarious, of course.
And then we climb in the car.
The stink. It smelled so bad. And the only way to describe the smell was like, I don't even know.
Curdled,
gurney under girdle. Girdle gurneys.
It was not good, to say the least.
Old food, old feet, it's soggy.
It was giving sour stomach.
No, it was sick. Yeah, it was giving sour sop soup.
Yeah.
It was gross.
So we had, in fact, left 2 iced coffees in
Barely.
the cup holder, but it was a non-dairy product. It was almond milk that was in it. So we smelled it and it wasn't the cup. Although we did, have to dump those out because that is kind of gnarly that we left those in the car for 12 days.
Yeah, but the thing is like, the only thing, so it was still stinky today when I finally took the cups out because I couldn't handle it the day off. I keep the stink going. So we had glass straws with our Dunkin' cups because we recycle.
We reduce, we reuse.
So the cups didn't smell bad. I took a whiff of the cup because I was curious.
Did you sneak a peek under the couch?
There was nothing under the couches in the car. And the couches, we just mean the seats. We're saying that.
I don't know why I said that either.
I drive a Mazda CX-5. There's no couch in there. But no, I don't know what it was. It had to have been the cups. But when you get your nose close enough to the straw, I'm not smelling the overall smell. Unless an animal crawled up and died in my vents, which might be a red herring for a later tale of the show. I'm not sure what it was. But campers, have you ever had a moment where you're like, hey, I'm not a dirty girl. I'm not a dirty girl. I'm not a dirty green. But all of a sudden, I'm being accused, and rightfully so, of being grubby.
We're accusing ourselves.
Oh, no, I am, and I'm stepping up to the plate. A batter, swing.
Strike 1, ball 1. It is foul.
Oh my God, is a strike also? What do you call when you get all the bowling pins down?
That's a strike.
So how can a strike in the game of bowling be so great, but a strike in the game of baseball be so bad? It's all about perspective here. So maybe the good Lord looked down at me and said, I think this stinky car will teach you a lesson. And that baseline will give you a great starter for a Trail Mix episode. And if that was the case, I'm changing my tune. I am now grateful for my stinky Mazda.
Your song is no longer in minor, but it's now in major. Also, our bathroom smelled too. What was up with that?
Yeah.
Things are stinky around here, guys. Like, what the fuck?
Sandwich has not been doing his daily checks.
Yeah, no, but that smelled like a rat in the wall died, which I am concerned about, TBH.
Well, you left the window open all night in the downstairs bathroom.
We had a literal tornado last night. My bad.
Well, it was. Yeah, at one point, Jonathan loves to do this thing where he's like, I'm going up to bed, and then I come up 2 hours later and he's on his phone. And the minute I come into bed, now all of a sudden he's exhausted and tired. So I'm in bed for 3 minutes talking to him and he's doing this. Bitch, you've been up for 2 hours. The minute I come up here, now all of a sudden you're dead asleep.
Well, I know
Grow up.
You're not going to want to hear the shit that I'm playing off my phone, or you're going to go, babe, can you turn that down? Can you turn that down?
No, this is the thing, because you can't watch a video unless it's on full volume.
And that's my prerogative. So you're welcome for turning it off.
That's not what we're talking about. You're changing the subject. We're talking about how you're falling asleep 2 seconds after I enter the room.
Well, if I'm not downloading blue light, I have to download my dreams.
So he's pretending to fall asleep, as he does. And it sounded like something, like a tree hit a transformer.
I was half asleep, and from what it sounded like somebody threw a symbol and a small statue of a man at the wall.
A gargoyle.
Yeah, gargoyle.
Once again, gargoyles are back on the show, campers. Yeah, you were fake sleeping. I heard that. But all that to say is we left our downstairs bathroom window open for intruders. I could have been attacked in my sleep.
That window is far too small for anybody to fit through.
I'm shaped like a thimble or a needle. I'm tiny. I can fit under a door frame if I need to. I'm like a mouse.
Come on, Brandy
My
Melville.
my bones are made of a small thread-like material. I'm 3D printed. Okay. Let's get into today's episode. This is a bunch of nonsense. What do you guys story about?
I have a story about a camper who gets called into her son's principal's office with some explicit news.
Oh, okay. I have a camper looking for advice on how to break some special news to her parents.
A camper caught in a sudsy laundering scheme.
Oh, okay. And a story about a camper's windshield and a giant Canadian goose. Let's get into it, campers.
Are we qualified to be giving advice? No. Are we going to do it anyway? Absolutely.
Welcome back to Dear Counselors, campers. This is the part of the show where you write advice in, or questions or concerns, and we do our best to help you out. Because what is a counselor without our sage guidance? This person writes in, hey, you sexy beasts. Okay. First of all, obsessed.
Attention, captured.
Attention, grabbed. Pulling by the wrist. Yank my pony. I need your advice. I am 26 years old, and I got a call in April of 2023 from a good friend / old coworker at my past job. She called saying she had someone that wanted to take me to a concert, and she proceeded to tell me it was a manager. Let's call him William at my old job. He's 46, which is a big age gap, but I didn't care because it was simply a concert. Fast forward almost 10 months later, and I have fell madly in love with him. We laugh and have the best time doing the simplest of things, like taking out the trash or changing a light bulb.
Oh.
It sounds stupid, I know, but we bring out so much genuine joy out of each other. This is where I need y'all's advice, because it's a 20-year age gap. My parents don't know because I know they will have an absolute heart attack. I'm aware I'm grown and I can't live my life for them, but I am absolutely petrified of telling them and their reaction. I need your guidance on what to do. Sincerely, Old Man Lover Girl in Cabin 9. Old Man Lover Girl.
At AOL.com.
Jonathan, what can we tell? What can we tell Old Man Lover Girl?
Okay, so
It's tricky. It's sticky.
Is it? Well, I get that it is. You know, you already said it. You're grown. You pretty much predicted what we would say. Like, go get that middle-aged, on the younger side, dick. Like, why not?
Yeah, we said this last episode. 46 is not a life sentence.
Yeah.
That doesn't even make sense. 46 is not a death sentence. You're good, girl. He's good. Is everything still working? Is everything still chirping? We're okay.
And even if there's not, there's other ways of doing things.
However.
So the parents. So we're working on figuring out how to tell the parents.
Yeah,
right?
She's validated in her truth. And also, let's keep in mind, Jonathan, she's been with this man for 10 months.
Yeah, so this is not a new blooming thing. Oh, you need to share this with your parents, especially if you're like close enough with your parent, you know?
Oh my God, can you imagine? This is so stressful, Kimber. I want to validate you and say that this is stressful.
So maybe we start by, you know, taking your parents out when it's just the three of you and like talking about this guy that you've been seeing and really start, what?
Because I'm putting myself in Camper's shoe.
Oh, okay. So you're feeling stressed.
This is stressful. You're not stressed for her?
I am, but that's why we're putting our heads together.
I'm not helping right now.
I have my thinking cap on and they need our help. So take your parents out to dinner and express how you've been seeing this person and how great they are and how he's been making you feel. And then, I don't know, maybe say, I'm hesitant to have you meet him because, and then just kind of put it out there. You know, they might be shocked, but also you might be shocked at how well they receive it, especially with, you know, you got to set it up. You put the sugar coating on it first and then you deliver the message.
Yeah, we don't know your parents, so we don't know how they're going to react. I am not above just sending a text.
No.
No, because it's like, this is hard. This is a hard thing to do. And it's like, you're going to stay with him. So it's like, just, what if you're like, hey mom, hey dad, I'm dating someone for 10 months. He's 46. Please don't freak out. Call me when you've adjusted to this information. And then be like, okay, because it's like, do you really need to involve yourself in like the confrontation of face to face? Like, yeah, in an ideal world, you should. That's mature. But at the end of the day, protect your peace. I would just send a little text. Mom and dad, I met a man. We're pretty serious. I'm scared you're going to be upset because he's 46. He's really cool and he has most of his hair. Would you want to get dinner? We're thinking Golden Corral. If you're opposed to that, TGI Fridays is also open. Like, there's options here. I don't know if you need to, because it's like, what?
So for either of ours, we don't know the relationship you have with your parents, like Counselor Zach or I already said. So if you have a little bit more of an estranged, maybe take Zach's approach. If not, I don't know. I feel like, what if you send the text? Sorry, I don't want to plant seeds, but then they don't text back. Are you okay with like sitting on that? Or, do you just want to say it to their face? It's up to you.
I also think we need to allow people who are receiving information like this time to adjust.
True.
When I came out to my mom, she said, well, wait, what if it's a phase? And that wasn't the right thing to say, but do I hold it against her? No. Do I ever forget it? Absolutely not. I just think everyone's allowed a moment of adjustment and reflection. So that's why maybe a voice memo. We're meeting in the middle here.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know, Kimber. This is just such funny discourse. I validate you completely, though. You're 26. He's 46. If you're into it, you're into it. Get freaky, girl.
And at the end of the day, you have each other and a lot of light bulbs to change.
What happens when you meet his parents?
Are they still around?
Well, don't say that.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to make a joke about the early bird special.
Oh, okay.
This episode of Camp Counselors is sponsored by BetterHelp. I am a huge fan of therapy, and having a therapist online virtually is probably one of the best perks of the 21st century.
I love therapy in my sweatpants.
I love therapy with no shoes on.
Campers, our lives are busy and chaotic.
Thankfully, BetterHelp has a flexible schedule that can suit anyone's program. You can take therapy from the dock. You can take therapy from the mess hall. You can take therapy from the airport. You can connect to a therapist anywhere with the access of a phone. Finding a therapist is a lot like dating. Not every therapist is going to be your long lover.
Chemistry has to be right.
Luckily, with BetterHelp, they make it so easy to keep swiping left and right on these therapists until you find one that really matches and complements your personality. Because at the end of the day, your mental health is so important.
And when you find that right therapist, you can chat in messages, you can chat live video, you can talk over the phone. It's so flexible.
Because sometimes it's not an on-camera day, and that's okay, and BetterHelp understands that.
So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. Visit betterhelp.com/camp to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/camp. This episode of Camp Counselors is sponsored by Factor.
Factor, read all about it. I love eating meals on the go. Seriously, I am so obsessed with Factor. We've already talked about it before, how Jonathan and I were using this service before we even got the sponsorship. Not me on the Factor app this morning, scheduling my meals for April 12th. I really was.
Literally had it for lunch today. They're blackened salmon. So delicious.
Every single week, they have so many different meal options, and I am not joking, campers. They are all so delicious, so convenient, sent right to your door, and the plans are so flexible. I started off doing 10 meals a week, 5 for each of us. I thought that was a little too much for me. Now we're down to 6 meals a week, 3 each, and that's working perfect for our schedule. I love that you can change, pause, edit how many meals are in each box. It really is customizable to you. And if you're looking for more meal support, they have a bunch of add-ons like juices, breakfast items, all beyond just your traditional like lunches and dinners. They have a lot of things you can do with Factor.
Head to factormeals.com/camp50 and use code CAMP50 to get 50% off. That's code CAMP50 at factormeals.com/camp50 to get 50% off.
This is a really big secret. Thank God we're on a body of water. This is Confession Canoe.
Welcome back to Confession Canoe, y'all. If you have something you want to confess, this is the place to do it. You can go to campcounselorspodcast.com or campcounselorspod@gmail.com. All right, so I've got 2 stories for you here.
A back-to-back double feature?
Yes, a double feature, if you will. Science fiction, double feature, Rocky Horror Picture Show. Okay. Hi, cuties. Boy, do I have a story for you. My son, we can call him Wes, is into things like Taylor Swift, art, astrology, jewelry, sparkles, rainbows, etc. As a child with ADHD, he has been known to get hyperfixated on things and will research to no end. Hi, it's me.
That whole thing sounds a lot like you.
Yeah. Am I Wes?
Wait, did your mom write this in?
He has always been ahead of his time, academically and emotionally. I've always been very proud to be his mom. Last Friday, I received a phone call from my son's principal, asking if I could come in for a meeting that day because he had something he needed to show me in person, but would not give any other details.
Oh God, what could it be? Like, just tell me over the phone. Once again, being cryptic.
Backstory. My son's school iPad had been taken by the school's tech teacher the other day to perform updates, or so we thought. When I sat down in the principal's office, he turns my son's iPad towards me to show the search history.
What?
The principal said the tech team had received a notification that he was trying to access inappropriate content, and that's why the iPad had been taken. Am I gay was among the things he had searched.
Ugh.
This led him down a rabbit hole of searches, as per usual, eventually landing on nude mail with explicit photos and all, right there on his iPad. I nervously giggled. The principal raised an eyebrow and I said, I knew it. The principal was confused. I explained how I had always had a feeling that my son could be gay. This man's head nearly exploded. I could tell that this was not the kind of reaction he was expecting me to have. But then it was my turn to grill him, and I asked how on earth my son could access adult content on a school iPad.
Absolutely. Yeah. How could he do that?
His best answer was that, quote, some sites are just really good at getting around the firewall. This kid threw the first brick at firewall. But honestly, like, nude mail should have been blocked.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty standard search.
My son was not in trouble of any kind.
Good.
But it was something I knew I had to address later when he got home.
Mm-hmm.
After he got off the bus that day, we had a great conversation about his curiosity in the kitchen while I made dinner. He said he maybe thought he could be gay, but he wasn't sure. He also told me he likes girls too, so I explained that that is totally normal to like both. He fought through tears to tell me that he was afraid of what we might think of him when he told us, but I assured him that whoever he chooses to love, he would always be loved by us.
Oh God, my heart.
Parents, please be open to having these conversations with your kids if they come up, no matter how awkward or uncomfortable it may be. At 31 years old, I still haven't been able to tell my own parents that I myself am bisexual. So I am really kind of glad for this whole incident, as it opened up a door to a conversation he may have hid away in fear, like I did. All of this to say, I was right, and I am so, so grateful that he is my son. XOXO, proud mama bear in the mess hall.
Oh my God, that like made me well up. That is like the parent that every little gay boy, little gay girl, everyone that's ever like felt a little different in that way, like wishes they had. So thank you for standing up for your kid and allowing a safe space for them to just explore and talk about how they're feeling, because nothing is concrete. You know what I mean? People are constantly changing, especially at that age, but to feel safe is amazing. So thank you, Camper.
Yeah. Especially when, you could just discipline your child for searching adult things. You didn't think of it in that way at all. It was more of like, oh, he's curious, obviously. He's going to look up this shit.
Yeah. And like, I'm not supporting any child looking up like inappropriate.
No,
that's what I'm saying. But it's a wider lens at what we're looking at here. You know what I mean? It's like, that's the conversation we're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a great parenting moment. And I hope other parents on the podcast get something from that if something comes up. You mean, because like, it's not about like asking kids if they're gay or pushing that narrative, like that sometimes it feels like the media is trying to be like, oh, you know what I mean? But I feel like if that conversation comes up, it's allowing this safe space for you to be like, okay, how are we feeling? And you're okay, whoever you are, whoever you love, This was a perfect example of that.
Absolutely.
Do you have another confession canoe for us?
I do.
Let me hear it.
This is kind of a long one, but it's good.
I want to hear it.
Hey, fellas.
Hey.
Thank you for making my commutes to school so much more enjoyable. I've been listening to the podcast since week 33 and, of course, listened to the first 33 weeks. So basically, I've been a camper since day one. I love the math. That is camper math right there. I appreciate it. Both of you are so complimentary of each other, and I admire your adoration and love for each other.
Oh, thank you.
Keep it up. And I am thrilled you are sponsored now. Hey.
Hi, Podcast One.
Love you, Podcast One. Buckle up, babes, because I've got a doozy for ya. Today, I'm a clean freak. But back in the day, your girl was a typical messy teenager with way more clothes than I could ever wear and an issue of letting things go. As you can imagine, my small bedroom was a wasteland of piles and piles of clothes that I, of course, got from my first job, PacSun.
Oh my God, fun first job.
My mom frequently threw fits over my messy room, although now I get it. Back then, I simply did not give a fuck. She had been telling me for months to clean my room and that she would no longer be handling my loads of laundry. I finally got sick of hearing her boomer ideology and decided I needed to get my room under control. Now, before I carry on, I need to explain that my dad used to take my family's laundry to a local launder, a sweet lady named Bunny, who would literally clean 100 pounds of laundry and only charge you $25.
Bunny, I love you, girl. You need to be charging a little bit more than that.
But we're just painting the picture for the story.
100 pounds?
Yeah, 100 pounds.
That's a lot of laundry. Bunny is a saint, and I love that name. I want to meet a woman named Bunny.
Bunny Myers, Graveyard Girl.
You love her.
Love Graveyard Girl. So the solution to my dirty laundry was evident. I would just take all my laundry to Bunny. I figured $25 later and I'd be back in my mother's good graces with clean clothes in hand.
Smart move, girl.
So I packed up literally every piece of clothing I owned. PJs, undies, crappy clothes, nice clothes, and probably a prom dress or two, knowing me. I filled 4 large construction garbage bags. Those are the big ones. Those are the big industrial boys.
Mm-hmm.
I shoved them all into my cute little Jeep and made my way to Bunny's, only to find that her laundromat was closed for a few days.
Bunny had to go on vacation.
I quickly came up with a plan B, which of course did not include me doing my own laundry. I love it. That's just like, we're not doing our own laundry. We have to take it to Bunny's. Mind you, I was only 16 at the time, and I had a very delusional idea of how the world worked. After a moment to ponder my next move, I realized there was a laundry service business closer to my house. I put my Jeep in drive and took off to the next place. When I entered, a kind woman looked at me with all my huge bags and laughed. I told her that I needed my clothes laundered. She happily took my bags and told me it would probably be ready in a couple of days. We shared small talk, and the woman told me that she lived in town and asked me where I lived. I should probably include that I live in Oakmont, PA, which is famous for the Oakmont Country Club and Oakmont Bakery. I've never been, but I heard they have great baked goods.
Have you heard of them, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I have, but I've never been.
I want to go.
My family bought the shittiest house on the nicest street in town that just happened to be around the corner from the country club. We were raised by a blue-collar contractor alpha dad and a tough RN mother. Our parents gave us exactly what we needed and nothing more. If we wanted anything expensive, we'd have to work for it and pay for it ourselves. We did not belong to the country club and never had any ambition to. This will be important to know later. I explained to the lady that I lived on 11th Street, and she said, "Oh shit, girl, I live on 15th Street. We're neighbors." She didn't say it like that, but you know.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, for the story, of course.
I smiled and I left. 2 days later, I got a phone call from the cleaners letting me know my clothes were done, and my total was $700.
That's what I'm saying. Like, even the prom dresses, like that would be a specialty fee. That's a lot of clothing. Bunny was crazy for charging $25.
Oh, just wait. Surely I heard that wrong. I say, come again. What was that? $700, miss. You can pick everything up at your leisure. You guys, I was shooketh. I did what my mother would do, and I asked to speak to the manager because this had to be a mistake. The manager got on, and it sounded like the woman that I had spoken to when I brought everything in. She explained that they dry cleaned every piece of my clothing, and that the best she could do was give me 10% off and let me slowly buy my clothes back. So she didn't do the regular laundry, which would have been much, much cheaper.
Wait.
Every single piece,
that's
every
crazy.
single garment.
They should have known that was a miscommunication, especially since she's 16.
I was mortified.
That's scammy of them, camper.
They literally had all of my clothes. At the time, I thought I made a huge mistake. But now that I'm older, literally what you just said, I think, who the hell allows a 16-year-old to make a $700 purchase? That lady had to know that I was living off my pennies from PacSun. I decided I could not tell my parents. They would kill me.
Of course.
I checked my bank account to see if my paycheck had cleared. Nope. My balance was less than $10.
Oh.
I crunched the numbers and I realized it was going to take me months before I could get my clothes back. And on top of all this, bitch, I had no underwear because they had all my undies.
That's terrible.
I called my best friend who had a job at the time and I explained my situation and to see if she could loan me some money so I could at least buy my underwear back. Thankfully, she laughed at the situation and she was willing to give me $75, which I was able to use to buy my underwear back as they were individually charged for each piece. That's so like $75 to buy your own fucking underwear back. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's insane.
Over the course of the following weeks, I slowly bought my clothes back. Then I received, here we go. Then I received a call from the laundromat one day and they explained they found one of the bags of my laundry they forgot to clean and they cleaned it. It would be an additional $300. They knew
$1,000?
They knew I couldn't afford the first bill, but cleans them and charged me anyway. At this point, I had to tell my parents and I felt like I was starting to be taken advantage of. My dad was absolutely livid. But felt like I was also, being taken advantage of. So they were on the same page with that. Thank God. He called the business and spoke with the woman that I had spoken to on the first day. My father said there must be some mistake. I simply wanted my clothes laundered, not dry cleaned. The woman said, "Oh, well, you should know your daughter made it very clear that her daddy could cover the bill because he lived close to Oakmont Country Club."
Ew. Is that's why they were doing this? Because they figured that he was wicked rich? What a bastard.
My father knew that as immature as I was, I would never say anything like that to anyone. And no one messes with my CrossFit dad. My patient and kind father covered the rest of the bill for me and reamed this woman into another dimension. Luckily, I was not grounded, but he did use this story to entertain my friends and many of his, which caused me a lot of embarrassment, but I took it because he did stand up for me and covered the bill. As it turns out, many people loathed this dry cleaning service, and they were apparently famous for overcharging people, losing items, and returning brand new clothes to the owners with newfound holes in them, and of course denied it was their doing. This made me feel a little bit better, but I still have never been able to live down this story. I'm now a 25-year-old clean freak minimalist who wears the same jeans and gray t-shirt routinely. I still hate doing laundry, but I happily do it every time I remember this story. So moral of the story, campers, you don't need Brandy Melville's entire new line or every pair of bullhead jeans you see.
Bullhead, oh my God, throwback.
Buy a few staple pieces, jazz them up with some cute Carrie Bradshaw accessories, and live your best life. Sincerely yours, the camper in the utility cabin, scrubbing y'all skid marks out of your underpants with love for free in cabin 54.
Our camp laundromat is now cabin 54.
Oh my God. Dry cleaning? More like lie cleaning.
No, they definitely scammed her. Like, she's 16. She clearly doesn't know what she's like talking about. It's maybe her first time there. Like, I would never you know what I mean? You have to confirm that a couple times.
Yeah, and also
they really messed with you, and that wasn't okay.
No, absolutely not. I would be fucking furious. But she was thinking she was doing the adult thing. She's like, I'm going to take it to the laundromat, and that's why we got to be loyal to Bunny.
And that's why you have to check in on Bunny, because Bunny was vacationing in the Bahamas. Bunny Bahama trip. Beach Buddy Bahama.
Beach Body Buddy.
Beach body with Buddy in Bahamas.
Yeah.
And that's the thing here. Is like, if Bunny was there, you would have been fine. And shout out to Bunny, really.
Yeah, that's a fucked up story. I'm like pissed on her behalf, but isn't that crazy? I was like, I have to read this.
Imagine getting your first job at PacSun. You're starting out better than the rest of us.
Yeah, true.
I was at Old Navy.
Were you there when Kendall and Kylie were there? Do you remember that?
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, of course.
They did a mall tour at the King of Prussia Mall when I was working there.
Yeah, no one did that. Okay, go on. Sorry.
And so did Bethany Moda. I didn't know who Bethany Moda was, but
I still don't know who that is.
She was a YouTuber. I don't know what she does now, but she was at the PacSun as well, which was located directly next to like 2 stores away from where I was working.
What, Lush or H&M?
H&M. And the people were like crowding into our store to get a look at her. It was absolutely mayhem.
When I was growing up, Jason Derulo came to the Dartmouth Mall.
Oh my God, Jason D.
And I'm pretty sure, someone correct me if I'm wrong from back home, I think Brooke Hogan did too. But I didn't know. I didn't see either of them. I wasn't there.
Is this thing on? I'm Caitlin Bristow, host of Off the Vine podcast, where I get real well, maybe a little too real sometimes, with my friends and celeb guests from Bachelor franchise and beyond. I'm talking guests like Jonathan Van Ness, Nikki Glazer, Wells Adams, Elise Myers,
just like in this like business jacket, like I would love some tacos.
Heidi D'Amelio, Big Brother's Taylor Hale,
I have to bring it up because it happened and we're going to get through it.
What'd I do?
and so many more. So come hang out with us, hear ridiculous confessions, and get a little vulnerable because you know what? We're all just floating on this weird little planet together. Follow, rate, and review Off the Vine podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Scary stories around the campfire.
Welcome back to Scary Stories around the Campfire. That was good. Thank you for adding some stuff to that.
You're welcome.
I like that.
That was my hoblin goblin.
All right. So full transparency, campers. If you're scared of blood, squeamishness, some kind of chaotic goose behavior, it's a lot. This is a very kind of graphic story. I think if you don't care, like, you're gonna love it. If you do care, don't listen to it. But I gave you full warning, so like, don't get mad at me if you listen to this story. Dear camp counselors, I've got a spooky story involving a wayward goose, a slightly intoxicated and injured husband, and lots of broken glass. Let's get into it. It's April 2018. Me and my husband and 2 small children are driving on the interstate. We had spent the whole day at my husband's grandma's house to visit with family who had come in from out of town. We are from a small town in Indiana, about an hour from where we are now living in the suburbs of Indianapolis. If we leave after dark, we normally take the interstate instead of the dangerous and curvy 2-lane highway for fear of deer and insane semi-trucks drivers. I've never hit a deer.
Me neither.
I haven't, and I don't want to ever. It's actually something that really scares the shit out of me.
If I see a little baby deer on the side of the road, like, I know there's more because where there's one, there's a herd, right? So I always slow down and I'm always alert. Is that what it is, a herd?
No, I think you're right. I think it's a funny word.
A gaggle?
That's of geese.
A murder?
So here we are. I am the one driving home since my husband decided to day drink with his cousins. I'm still hyper aware of the possibilities of stray deer, but what I should have been doing was looking at the sky. While my husband and I are talking, out of the corner of my eye, I see a large object come right for us. I realize at the last second that it's a giant Canadian goose whose wings spread out as it desperately tried to pull up out of the way of our minivan. Seconds later, I hear a loud pop, and my usually very calm, very collected husband is screaming his head off. His hands are covering his eyes, yelling, "I'm blind, I'm blind." I am in shock. There is a large hole in our windshield, and my husband is not only shouting that he's blind, but he's actively trying to exit our vehicle as I am careening down the highway at a cool 80 miles per hour.
Oh my God.
Careening down the highway.
That's what we're stuck on?
Well, it's a great word choice. It's a great writer. My 19-month-old is screaming. I don't hear anything from my 3-year-old, but I can't look behind me as I'm trying to get on this off the side of the road while also physically stopping my husband from opening the door and flinging himself out.
Why is he blind?
Where did the goose go? Is it in the back of the van, flailing around? Is it on top of my 3-year-old, and that's why she's silent? I somehow control the van, realizing that we are almost to the next exit. I start to dial 911. This was my first time, Zachariah, and my adrenaline was also bumping.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And my husband
My
is still
God.
screaming that he can't see. Because the glass.
Oh.
We pull into the Walmart parking lot and wait on an ambulance. I look behind me and my okay, this is like when things get crazy. So once again, final warning, I'm not saying it again. We pull into a Walmart parking lot and wait on the ambulance. I look behind me and my children are covered in glass, head to toe. My youngest has stopped crying, but my 3-year-old is covered in blood. I start to panic and reach behind to touch her. I realize that she's asleep, zonked from running around outside all day, and that blood is not hers. It is from the goose. First of all, that kid has slept through a goose going through the windshield,
Yeah.
covered in goose blood and in glass, and she's like out for the count.
She wakes up, she's like, what the hell happened? What'd you do without me?
Where is the goose? I get out and cautiously open up the back hatch, preparing myself for this animal to fly out and attack me.
So it's like in the car.
Final warning, campers. But now, I locate the goose. It is not only dead, but decapitated.
Oh.
Its head is nowhere to be seen.
Oh.
Thank God. But there's blood and feathers everywhere. All over our stuff, all over our car.
Where's the hat?
They're going 80 miles an hour down the highway, and a goose goes right through their windshield all the way to the back of the minivan. Glass, feathers, blood everywhere.
Oh no, goosey gander.
The ambulance comes and checks out my husband, who is now realizing he is not blind, but has so much glass embedded in his eyes from the impact.
Oof.
The goose apparently hit our car, decapitated itself, came in through the windshield, busting glass everywhere, and smacked my husband in the face before flying over my children and landing in the back. The medics come over to say that my husband needs to go to the hospital to get his eyes flushed out, and they look at me concerned. One goes, "Oh my gosh, you are very pregnant. Are you okay?"
Girl.
I was indeed 8.5 months pregnant at this point and was thankfully driving since my husband had been drinking. I told them I was fine, but could they please help me remove the dead goose from my trunk? What a request.
Oh my God, she's pregnant this whole time.
In 8.5 months, it's like the only thing more pregnant than 8.5 months is 8 and 3/4 months.
It's crowning.
You're pretty much at the finish line. Cut the blue ribbon.
You're dilated.
An incredibly kind police officer offered to put my children's car seats in the patrol car and drive us to the hospital to meet my husband. My husband had to have his eyes flushed out for over an hour to get all the glass out, but thankfully had no other injuries. The nurse cleaned off my girls and removed all the goose blood from my 3-year-old. We had family pick us up and drive us the rest of the way home, where I took a shower and just kept saying to myself, here I was worried about deer and a fucking goose hit us. That's Indiana for you. I don't know what Indiana's about, but I do know there's nothing crazier than the geese and the deer. My husband was picking out glass out of his eye for weeks, and for as long as we had that minivan, tiny bits of glass came out of the vents anytime they used the defrost setting.
Oh.
Constantly reminding us of the decapitated goose and the havoc it wreaked on that one April day. And then the camper writes in her final thoughts. Was he an adolescent who didn't know how to fly properly?
Oh.
Was he purposely trying to end it all?
Oh.
Was he himself an intoxicated husband just trying to get home after day drinking?
Could be.
We'll never know. Sincerely, the silly goose camper in cabin 23.
My God, the trauma.
I know you hear so much about like people hitting deer. I've never heard a story about someone hitting a goose.
No, me neither. But for it to go into your car and above your children's head, that's also like, it's flying the opposite way. So the impact is more than 80 miles per hour if you were driving around 80.
Yeah, and she saw it out of the corner of her eye, and like she just didn't know what it was. And by the time she figured out, it was like the pop of it going through the windshields.
Oof. Well, besides the goose, I'm glad everybody is okay.
Yeah, like definitely not your fault, camper, obviously.
No.
And definitely the goose was definitely a drunk father trying to get home, and like he's out of the count. Thank God the head wasn't in the car.
I mean, like the 3-year-old, the head probably ceased to exist. It probably just like exploded.
I
Sorry.
know. Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Well, at least it was like a quick one for Miss Goosey Gander.
Nothing about this story was quick, babe.
Well,
He
for the
flushed his eyes
goose.
out for an hour.
For the goose.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't even care about the goose right now. I care about the husband. He had his glass in his eye for an hour.
Yeah.
And what do you mean flush it out? He's spraying with a hose?
You know, like at science lab with the orange caps that flap up?
For an hour?
Probably. Yeah,
Oh my God,
obviously.
he's lucky he didn't lose his eyes.
I bet that 3-year-old is like absolutely traumatized anytime they hear a goose honking.
Well, I don't think so, because they didn't even know it was happening. The 19-month-old is traumatized.
That's scary.
How many months old am I? I'll do the math off camera. That's all we have for today's show, campers. So be aware of geese in the sky.
Yeah, my God.
And if your man's 20 years older than you, who cares?
Get that dick, girl. Or boy. Or they, them. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you have a story you want us to read, you can send it on into camcounselorspod@gmail.com or go to camcounselorspodcast.com.
Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back Wednesday. We'll be back next week. We'll be back forever. And with that being said, lights out, campers.